And even that is not properly implemented. How can we grow when the wealth of the nation is being stolen by the very trustees of the wealth? Where on this planet do we have a nation so endowed and yet again so impoverished? That is why we must rally around and replace this present government with a progressive and responsive APC administration under my stewardship. In Kano State, we have one of the best records of fiscal discipline in the country. This has been acknowledged severally by reputable institutions and numerous credible professional bodies and civil society organizations, several of whom have honored the state at different occasions. This is our vision for Nigeria. Our plan for Nigeria is to gradually achieve a budget capital to the current ratio at least 70 to 30% within our first 3 years in office. We will cut the cost of running government and eliminate all forms of wastages like we have done in Kano. It is possible. It is achievable. With the support of all, we can be there. Yes, we must. We cannot have a functional economy without the active participation of the private sector and collaboration of our international partners and friends. Cutting cost of business is one of the instruments we must use to provide a conducive environment for both local and foreign investors. Our import and export policies shall be re-examined to make business easier and less expensive. Several other issues that make private sector operation difficult and expensive will be reviewed. The gains achieved in the agriculture and manufacturing sectors will be improved. We cannot build a formidable economy without a sustainable energy source. Our country's investment in power and the corresponding output is, to say the least, embarrassing. The independent power project we initiated in Kano State, which is expected to be completed in March 2015, will be generating 35 megawatts of electricity. This volume of energy will relaunch Kano to its position as a leading industrial and commercial center. The strength of any economy, distinguished compatriots, depends on the quality, competence, fitness, and morale of the available human resources that drive it. Nigeria's education and health sectors are facing multi-strong crises of quality, quantity, infrastructure, equipment, and brain drain. At the heart of this crisis are policy and sincerity. We must make our national education and health policies to provide for sustainable lifeline of funding for these very critical sectors of our national life. Toying with the education of our children and youth is akin to passing a death sentence to an entire generation. A generation killed, a future mortgaged, and a country destroyed. That is the result of playing insincere politics with education. We cannot afford to sacrifice the future of Nigeria. I want to thank the people who worked with me to revitalize the education system in Kano State. We have constructed more and more physical infrastructure for teaching and learning, distributed more learning resources, including electronic teaching facilities, increased primary school enrollment, and expanded access to education at all levels. We have improved the teachers' conditions of service and welfare and pursued a vigorous high-level manpower development policy, including the training of all categories of professionals locally and abroad. We have established numerous vocational institutes and training schools to give our youth skills and training that will make them more useful contributors to the growth of our economy. In pursuance of our belief that knowledge is power and knowledge is wealth, we have made education free at all levels in Kano State. Mr. Chairman, we cannot brag of having a sound economy when our universities are sick. A strong, competitive economy is only possible in countries where strong and world-class universities are. We have no excuse for keeping our universities and other tertiary institutions in the present sorry state. We must rebuild our universities and make them the world-class institutions that they once were. The capital flight out of Nigeria from citizens who travel to other climes to seek medical attention is alarming. This is the consequences of government's failure to put in place a functional national health policy and provide even a minimum health infrastructures. The direct correlation between the stress of our economy and the health of our students is very clear in my mind. A sick population can never be productive. A sick population cannot drive a robust economy. We must provide the necessary health infrastructures to support the well-being of our nation. We must create the conditions that will make medical and associated practices attractive and rewarding in our country. In this regard, government must provide and encourage a conducive atmosphere for research and development in the health sector. Our country is blessed with abundant, resourceful, and dynamic human resources that can effectively harness numerous natural resources that abound in all nooks and crannies of the country. However, lack of political will and committed leadership to make effective use of these resources militates against the growth and development of our economy. While our country languishes in the ignominy of corruption and bad governance, women in Nigeria are the worst victims of this malaise. Women constitute the largest part of our population. They make the greatest sacrifices and contributions, yet they are always relegated, underrepresented, and marginalized. Most of the victims of insurgency, terrorism, and general insecurity are women. They get killed, they get widowed, they get orphaned, they get abducted, maimed, humiliated, and abused, and yet they get no support from the central government. Let us have a government that will give priority and sincere attention to women and children. Let us have a government that will give high premium to the girl child education. Let us have a government that will create policies to empower the Nigerian women to become competitive players in every sector of our national life. Let us have a government that respects women and children and protect their lives and dignities. Let us have